In our interconnected world, it's hard to find the time to slow down and disconnect. PurePods offers a small slice of heaven for tourists and locals alike. PurePods CEO Stephanie Hassall joins me now to talk about her company. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello.
So, why don't you sort of tell me about how you get a pod up and running, sort of that process?
Well, the first thing is obviously got to find the right site and the right landowner to work with. And that really comes down to us looking for amazing locations where you've got these wonderful views, but most importantly, that they're private, secluded. So it's going to be a place that our guests can really immerse themselves in nature, feel really connected to it, but have that complete seclusion aspect. Once we find that perfect location, we work with that landowner to go through what our partnership agreement is. We're in it for the long term, so we want to make sure we're working with the right people. From there, we need to get the consent process underway. So that involves getting a geotech inspection completed, going through the structural engineers, architects, and so forth, and preparing the consent for the council. Luckily for us, we are now MB multi-proof certified, so that makes that process just that little bit easier for us. Then the actual build, we're actually only 3 to 4 weeks on site, depending on weather, because we sort of like a giant Meccano set, a whole bunch of steel, some prefab walls and glass, and it all comes together, and then we're ready to start opening.
And can you sort of tell me a bit about that agreement with the landowners? Of how long is it? Sort of how do they make money with all this?
So we actually try to enter into this as a 50-50 partnership. So the landowner is obviously providing the amazing views. They're going to look after the servicing between guests to our standards, our training, and they're going to maintain the walking track and car park. And we do everything else. So obviously we look after the consenting, the building process, the marketing, all the guest communications. And in return, we're just wanting to share that 50-50 profit share.
And who is your sort of ideal target market with this? Is it locals? Is it tourists? Is it younger people? Is it sort of older people with some money to spare?
Great question. What we originally thought it was going to be is aimed at those nature lovers who are looking, who love going hiking, love going to backcountry huts, but just wanted a bit of luxury. What we've actually found is that the biggest market for us is romantic stays or people who are celebrating a special occasion. So for locals, it's going along for their wedding anniversaries, for birthdays. Baby moons apparently are a thing. And we obviously get lots of honeymoons and marriage proposals. But on top of that, we also get people that do want to get out and see the night sky without all the light pollution. And we do also get others that are there to get their Instagram worthy photos of their unique location. So a bit of everybody.
And let's talk about COVID for a wee bit. What was the impact of COVID for you guys?
Well, I think for any tourism business, the first feeling was a little bit of shock going into sudden lockdown and processing all those cancellations and continuing to process cancellations as time went on and there was sort of no immediate end in sight. But luckily for us, we've been super supported by the locals. Perhaps it's because in the past with internationals booking so far in advance, maybe locals couldn't get their bookings that they wanted. And with no internationals, that meant that the dates did become available. So super, super lucky for us. And it's been great to have the last 2 years with people celebrating all those birthdays and anniversaries at a PurePod.
And did you see an impact of the government's campaigns, like get out there and do something new, New Zealand and all that?
It was amazing to have that support for all of us in tourism, trying to get that message out there. And for us, we've been majority international tourists, so having to switch to make sure that our message was getting out to a whole new group of locals. And in particular, we found the gift voucher campaign in the lead up to Christmas from Tourism New Zealand was a big help for us.
And so you're starting to expand into the North Island.
Mhm.
Are there any sort of limitations to growth? Sort of obviously a bit more populated up here and things like that?
Actually, it's almost the reverse. Because of there being a greater population, we think that the opening of new locations is going to be easier for us because you've got a bigger local market sitting right on your doorstep while you're still trying to educate the rest of the world about these new locations. So we just opened a location on Kapiti Coast and had a phenomenal response to that. Bookings straight away coming in, wait lists for the weekend nights. And we love that sort of level of support. And to be via the Kapiti Coast location is probably one of the ones that's nearest to urban locations of all of them, and just find those little pockets of amazing views. In this case, watching the sunset across Kapiti Island. There's amazing spots throughout all of New Zealand.
And let's talk about that landscape for a wee bit. Obviously, it's quite different between North Island and South Island. Are you sort of each pod sort of has a bit of a different view, being a different place? Let's talk about that for a wee bit.
Yeah, that's what we look for. We're looking for really unique locations. So whether that's a mountain view, snow-capped mountaintops, whether that's looking across golden tussock lands, or my favourite, which is the lakes or rivers or sea views. Nothing better than watching the sun rise out of the ocean in front of you or set across it, depending which side of the island you're on. So I think there are some differences between the traditional South Island sort of landscapes to North Island, but that's the exciting thing about a PurePod experience. Each one's unique. Even on the same farm, where we've got two PurePods, the views are completely different.
And what are the sort of key challenges of running a company like PurePods?
I think the key challenges were particularly in the early times when we're going through the design process and really trying to work on how to make a off-grid sustainable 5-star experience, but also where it's 100% reliable. And one of the first ideas was that being sustainable, we should have a compost toilet, but it's not really 5-star. So that was a quick change early on, but that brings in those other challenges. How do you have a flushing toilet and a beautifully high-powered shower while still trying to be sustainable? And so it's been a fun journey to work through all of those and come up with the product that we have today.
And do you have any sort of advice for people looking to get into the sort of tourism and accommodation sector?
I think it's about finding what's unique and different about your offering, but also how you can sustain that. So how do you operate it? How do you get past the barriers of getting a building consented? How do you make sure it's safe and reliable for your guests to stay? And how do you work with the right people to achieve that?
And what goals do you have sort of looking forward?
We would love to see PurePods throughout the length and breadth of New Zealand. So we're actively looking. So if you're a farmer out there or somebody else with an amazing piece of land that'd like to partner with us, please do get in contact. We are definitely looking for those spots right throughout the country.
And sort of more short term, so do you have any sort of short term goals in mind?
So keep a close eye out for some announcements coming into the summer. We've got some amazing new locations that we're going through the consent process for at the moment. Can't wait to share those details with you, but like the PurePods locations. Well, we like to keep the PurePod locations secret, right? Just throughout the whole experience, actually. It's part of the wee adventure. But we just keep an eye out. Once the consent's been approved, we'll start to share some bit more detail.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to chat to you.